What is up, YouTube? Today I'm going to show you how to shade for traditional tattoos. So what I mean by that is if you're pulling off flash and practicing on that, this is the shading techniques you are going to need to know in order to tattoo traditional style tattoos. The design I chose for this today is a bird with a little traditional flower. It'll be a super simple design, and I'll be able to show you how to shade in areas like feathers and wings and things like that, because a big part of American traditional are things like eagles, birds, anchors, flowers, things like that. So it's going to show you exactly how I do all of those things in one simple design. And if you are new to this channel, I'm Brandon from Tattooing 101. Make sure you are liking and subscribing down below so you can keep up to date on all of the new tattoo related content I make each week to be able to help you guys out get to your dream job of becoming a tattoo artist.
Okay, let's get into how to do traditional shading. So with this, we're going to set up a gray wash. I have my solid black far right, my 6 drops, and my 3 drops, which most of this is going to be just my straight black. So when it comes to traditional, I try to stay away from using gray washes. Some instances I will, but with this design I'm going to stick mostly with my black. So I dip in my black, and this is the motion that we're going to want to do. So I'm going to show you up here. You put it into the fake skin, and then just transition out like this. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. Right like that. So you can see all of the dots and then the transition out into dots further and further away, which makes the shading. Now, before we get started, what I do is I'll go one way with my shading, and then crosshatch. I'll go a different way. So I went this way and this way, this way and this way. And what that's going to do is fill in areas and get smooth transitions, but still look like pepper shading. You don't want to get it super smooth to where it actually looks like a perfect gray wash. You want to see those little dots, but you also, with the way I do it, you can see the little dots, but it's still a perfect transition. That's what you want to work towards. So once you have that motion with just like this, and then just doing it like that and cross-hatching, you can practice on a little area above until you get that down, and then jump into the actual design. So we'll start down at the bottom. So we're just gonna go into the fake skin and then just transition out. And the biggest thing you want to learn is the difference between how far you transition. So, you know, for some areas you're going to go really short like that. In some areas you're going to really draw it out. So using your, you know, hand control and then just really bringing those transitions out the whole way, which this will take some practice. Just start out in smaller areas until you get comfortable, and then you could start dragging it out pretty far in the design. Right like that. So that's what we're working at right here. So just putting it into the skin and then just getting used to this motion. Once you get this down, it'll be a lot easier. It takes a little bit of time getting used to being able to kind of, you know, do this, because you're not really used to it when you're working on like drawing or using a pencil, things like that. It's a different kind of technique completely. Another thing, when I'm doing traditional style tattoos, even if they are in black and gray, I'm going to shade them exactly what I would with an actual color tattoo. Some areas will be a little bit more shaded, but most of them it's going to be exactly the same as I would with a color tattoo. So I just go in here with my green after I was done to do the rest of the transitions. One thing I like to do whenever I'm doing whip shading, I don't like to go backwards with my machine. So what I mean by that is I always like to push, so right like this instead of going this way. It just looks really awkward, feels really awkward to me, and it doesn't really make the smoothest of transitions. I'll show you what I mean. So I don't really like to do it this way. I'm way more comfortable being able to push it, but some areas you don't really have a choice, especially on a human. I mean, obviously on fake skins you could just, you know, turn it whatever way you want to, but practicing both ways will help you out, because on actual clients you're not going to be able to just flip them around and get a better angle. But any place that I can, I'll definitely you know, push my shading instead of pulling it. Okay, when you're shading traditional, what I like to do is kind of stick with, you know, foreground and background. So all the background stuff is going to obviously be the dark stuff, and then you don't want everything blending together. So I'm not going to color in this flower perfectly black, because then it would transition, it would just blend in with everything we got going on with the leaves. So I'm just going to do just a very light bit of shading, but not going clear out, or it'll blend in with that leaf. So okay, so now I'm going to show you how I do the feathers or the wings. So I always leave the lines kind of not completely out, because I go in with actual shading. So I'm going to get a better angle so you can see this part. So what I'm going to do is start on this line and then make my transitions out to the tip. So I'm going to kind of follow these lines too when I do it. So here's this line. And then keep going from there. So, just making my transitions from black, then following that line up till it gets to the tip, right like that. The biggest thing to practice right now would be getting perfectly up to this line without having a gap the whole way. That's one thing that is really kind of hard whenever you are first starting out to get down. So once you get it, it just helps out a ton. So just working on getting your mag control, knowing exactly where your needles are compared to your cartridges, will help you out a ton with that. There's obviously a ton of different ways to kind of shade in wings. This is just how I do them, and then usually what I'll do, if it's like a color traditional tattoo, I'll put like some red or something on the tips, like right here, so it'll be like shaded out, and then you still have some color in the tip of the wing. So I always leave a fair section skin tone right there, just so I could go back and add some color if need be. Now we just go back and smoothen everything out with that cross hatching we learned. Awesome, now we can get into the other wing and just doing the exact same thing. Okay, another thing you want to think about is your supplies you're using for a traditional tattoo. So what I use is just standards. I definitely wouldn't recommend you going in with, like a bug pen or anything, because it would just be too smooth. So you kind of want that grittiness, the pepper shading, everything like that to make a good traditional tattoo. So now we'll start down at the belly. And just whipping it out right like that. So it's pretty much the same technique the whole time, just either cross hatching or just really making some long transitions or short transitions with this motion right here. Start out the tail black and then just make our transitions. So whenever I'm doing straight black, instead of doing the whip shading motion, I'm doing small tiny circles, making sure I'm going up to those lines perfectly, right like this. Just small circles, making sure you're not going over the line, but getting in all of those areas, which is another great thing to practice. If you just have triangles or something like that, and then just focusing on being able to get in there with your mags and being able to saturate them completely will help you out a ton in your career as well. And then from that black area, we just make our transitions out. Now I'll add some shading on the front. Just working on that motion. You can even use your machine without having it on, without fake scan, and just get used to this motion right here. That's the biggest thing, is, you know, getting used to do that exactly the same each time, which could really be tricky. There's a couple areas that I'm going to go in with a little bit lighter of a gray wash. I don't want it overpowering, so I'm just going to go in and just do some light whip shading in these areas. I'm just being very quick, not trying to oversaturate it at all. We just don't want it too bright to where it stands out too much. Right like that, and then maybe a little bit underneath. I have a question for you guys. I want to be able to help you out as much as possible, so what is your biggest issues with traditional shading? What are you having troubles with? All you got to do is comment down below, and I'll check them out and help you guys out any way that I can. Alright, let's check this design out. We'll clean it up really good. Alright, and there we go. And what we learned today was how to appropriately create pepper shading with your tattoos, or, you know, traditional tattoo shading. So that is how you do it. That's how I do it with every tattoo that I do that is traditional, or even some neo-traditional designs. As always, I hope this was able to help you guys out, and like and subscribe down below so you can keep up to date on all new content just like this. Don't forget to comment down below as well, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.